The customer had not informed us of an address change.
TxTag still blaming dozens of customers for many of those massive TxTag late fees we've been investigating for months. We took your bills straight to the top of TxTag for answers, and they told us the bulk of the problems stem from customers failing to update their address. But as KXAN investigator Brittany Glass uncovered, TxTag has a way to make sure addresses are accurate. It's just not always doing it, and it might be costing you.
Because I don't drive the toll roads, I automatically knew this is not for me.
Andrew Wheeler is largely confined to a wheelchair.
I haven't owned a car in probably a good 30 years.
He says it doesn't make sense he's been receiving TxTag bills over the past year for multiple drivers he doesn't know at his own home address where he's lived for nearly 2 decades.
These poor guys, you know, they have, I'm sure, not a clue that there's some outstanding bill that they haven't received, you know.
One of those bills was meant for this man, Nathan Fryer.
I don't even understand how that works. Like, how is he tied to me at all? That's a little alarming.
Especially since Fryer doesn't even own the vehicle listed on the bill anymore. He sold it early last year, then the new owner sold it again, all verified through the state's Department of Motor Vehicles. But the bill still went to the wrong address.
They're still racking up bills in my name in North Austin, which I am obviously not driving on that highway.
TxTag tells us drivers are supposed to update their addresses if their TxTag bills are being sent somewhere they don't live. Why was the collections agency able to identify their new address, but TxTag was not?
The initial invoices went to the wrong address because we did not have that information available to us. The customer had not informed us of an address change.
But TxTag should be able to verify addresses on its own, which should help cut down on confusion and massive collection fees. You see, under Texas law and through this interagency contract, TxTag is supposed to use DMV's record system to track down drivers who pay by mail on the toll roads, or get it to the right place through other reliable means. In Fryer's case, the DMV says it has the correct address for the current owner, who we also tracked down, just to make sure. There are huge discrepancies with the address system. The way that TxTag works with DMV, things aren't adding up.
That's not what we're seeing at all.
At the latest Texas Transportation Commission meeting, an agency spokesperson blocked our questions from commissioners. Bills are getting sent to people that they shouldn't be getting sent to, and that's why people aren't getting their bills.
We are using the addresses that we have with DMV, so they should be getting their bills.
Fryer never did. He says he never received any TxTag bills at the home where he's lived the last 7 years during the time in question.
I'm sure I'm not the only person. Texas is a big state. There's got to be lots of folks out there who have $10,000 bills that have no idea they have them. And that's just alarming. They got to find a new system.
TxTag has told us all along this wouldn't be an issue if customers paid their bills. That doesn't satisfy some state lawmakers who are now going directly to the commission that oversees TxTag, demanding answers and planning solutions ahead of the next legislative session. More on that tomorrow on KXAN News after the Olympics. In Austin, Brittany Glass, back to you.
Thank you, Brittany. After we first started investigating last fall, the House Speaker added toll transparency to a list of issues for the Transportation Committee to take up ahead of the next legislative session. Well, this past week, we were at that committee's first hearing where it was clear lawmakers are prioritizing this as they work to craft upcoming legislation and make improvements to the TxTag system.
There's been people that are in dire straits. I mean, just ridiculous amounts of money, and they're trying to deal with the problem. It's not like they're running. They've called TxTag, they've called the toll authorities, and have just been ignored or passed on.
Happy to report we have some good news tonight, as we've learned a new fee structure is set to take effect on March 1st. And it should help with future toll charges.
And KXAN investigator Brittany Glass tells us about some other big changes in the works and hopefully relief in sight for at least some of the millions of TxTag customers who've racked up massive fines in the past year.
We've learned by the end of this month, the collections agency sending drivers all those late fees will no longer be contracted with TxTag. Since right around the time we started investigating, there have been no additional accounts sent to collections. And if you still owe a late fee and actually know about it, they're trying to work with customers by giving out discounts. Still, some state lawmakers are not satisfied and want to make sure TxDOT truly fixes these problems for drivers' financial future. Taxing Texans to drive. That's how Senator Bob Hall sees tolls.
The patchwork of systems we have, first of all, confuses people.
So fixing the TxTag system is his priority ahead of the 2019 legislative session.
The cost of collection, the huge agencies that the various tolling authorities have that are just consumers of money.
Following our initial investigation last fall, the North Texas lawmaker was one of a handful of state leaders who questioned the agency about TxTag operations. He wrote to TxDOT heads he's disturbed by certain toll tactics, like trying to fool the public by simply removing the word toll from the title, using the term managed lane instead. Senator Don Huffines gave his concerns, too, about the public finance decisions being made and their ramifications for Texas taxpayers, telling TxDOT managed lanes only cater to people with money. Others can't afford the same opportunity to avoid traffic. And State Representative Mike Schofield's office had to intervene with TxTag directly when a constituent said TxTag can't get their equipment to work, and his account was sent to collections.
Just want to make a couple of comments on the issue, a couple of the issues, and then where I think I see us going based on what I've heard here today.
Senator Hall was at the most recent Transportation Commission meeting with hopes of addressing decision makers face to face. That's when it became clear, though, they don't see eye to eye.
I'm reminded in discussions that I have that when I turn on the water, that's a choice of how long I turn it on. The light bulbs we use in here, the type of electricity or how long we turn the lights on, that is a choice.
The bottom line for Commissioner Jeff Austin?
It is a choice. You know, it's a choice. It's not a tax. It's a choice.
The worker or the laborer's choice is, do I get home a little early or do I get home with milk for the baby?
Despite the difference in opinion, Senator Hall says he's committed to fixing the problem.
What we have to do is minimize the imperfections that are in it. We need to take a look at it and see what we can do to improve it.
Part of that means looking at TxDOT toll roads planned for the future. Remember last fall when TxDOT released its outlook, it included more than a dozen new managed toll roads. Within a day, though, the governor and lieutenant governor fired back, reminding the commission they don't want more tolls. The commission has since revamped the plan and axed a majority of those toll roads. In Austin, Brittany Glass, back to you.
Brittany, thank you. This whole investigation started when you weren't getting help from customer service and turned to us for help.
We delivered hundreds of your bills to TxDOT for answers, and we've now discovered some state leaders have received this flyer, what appears to be a mock-up of tips to maintain your account. It tells you what to do if you buy a new vehicle or if you sell a vehicle.
Also, if you get a toll bill for a vehicle you no longer own or you move. We reached out to TxDOT to find out when and how customers will start receiving that flyer, but it would certainly help as those issues were some of the main complaints we heard from you. KXAN State of Texas host Josh Hinkle has also been speaking with lawmakers on our political program about the changes that are in the works.
Yes, and one of those lawmakers, Representative Tony Dale of Cedar Park, he has 2 toll roads in his district, and he says he was encouraged by these developments. The most significant before collections and customer service billing contracts are with 2 different entities, which was likely behind a lot of the confusion and miscommunication. Starting next month, it will all be combined under one entity, Conduit. Dale says it's a promising first step, but there's still a long way to go.
And as a result of what you did and follow-up questions that we did also, we went back to TxDOT and said, yeah, that's a good question. It needs to be answered. And they went to Conduit, the company that manages the TxTag system, and now they've forced them, essentially, and Conduit has agreed to do what's called skip tracing, so that if someone has moved, and this is a problem with people moving and not updating their information, but now Conduit does this skip tracing, so that should result in more people getting their bill in a more timely manner. And I really think it's partly as a result of you guys asking that question.
But consistently, we've heard from the executive director and the Texas Transportation Commission, Jeff Austin in particular, that it's the customer to blame. With that kind of culture at the top, is that right? Should those people be in those positions?
Well, I think they can do better. I've had meetings with all of them except for Mr. Austin, and express my concerns over how we can improve the system. And I get pretty good feedback from them, but I'm still in a wait and see mode. I think we're still in for another year or maybe more before we can transition to a system that's really going to be responsive to toll road users.
And will you look at the leadership at that point to see if the fix is working? Should there be a change in leadership?
They're not going to be able to get the support if they can't fix what they currently have.
Certainly, lawmakers will be watching closely ahead of the next session in 2019, and there will be committee hearings in the meantime where I'm sure they'll be asking TxDOT a lot about the progress.
Josh, thanks to you and your team. If you want to catch up on our complete TxTag troubles investigation, go to this story in the investigative page of KXAN.com right now.